We in a stew. We had to do it, we got to do it differently because we don't have the same intro like we used to. I can't do a lot of turning around. We got a lot of stuff going on behind us. Whoa. We got a lot going on behind us. So, what is up, everybody? Good to see you. It is one of those days, one of those times. I don't know what the deal is, but we're going to be watching a highly requested video by you guys. We in a stew, baby. That's just what it is. We're going to watch this video. I have always wondered what is going on with this storage unit. I remember this being one of those moments, and personally in the case for me, that was hardest to see because I saw a lot of... So let me just backtrack for a second so you guys kind of have some context. So my family did have a lot of stuff. Like we had pictures, we had all that stuff. Unfortunately, Lori is so unsentimental, whatever that word would be, where she never kept our stuff. So like I don't have my 4th grade pictures. Like my grandparents had that stuff, my other family members had that stuff if they had it, because my mom did not care about having sentimental things. And you know, I see Kelsey's family and I see her mom has like her outfits and her clothes and her handprints and her stuff from like her whole life. And so, you know, seeing that stuff has made me want to do the same thing for Riley. We keep every scrap of paper that she draws on. And it just, I bring that up in context because for Lori to even get a storage unit is pretty interesting, because basically it looked like she just wanted to have something to dump off. But unfortunately, she didn't care about any of that stuff, right? So none of that mattered to her, which is why I'm even curious why she paid for a storage unit. But I remember thinking, you know, there was that whole moment where they're like, where Chad and Alex moving a body back and forth. I think Dateline asked me that, you know, just stuff like that. So that storage unit was really scary, and it just kind of put a lot of my heart. And then I saw what was in it. I know my jersey's in there from when I was like 14, when I asked for a custom jersey, and I had one that said Colby, it was a Colts jersey, and one said Ryan and one said Colby. I don't remember which one's in there, but yeah, it's unfortunate because all of that stuff is everything that's left. If there's anything in there, that's what's left of my entire history of my core family. It is in there, other than some of the pictures and digital things, but physical material, that is really what's there. So we're gonna get into it. I'll let you know what I think, and yeah, we're gonna get started.
Hey everybody, we are here today at We Are Self Storage in Rexburg, formerly known as Self Storage Plus. DJ Barney, Carly Hobbs, DJ owns the place. And we have Kato and Bandit, the 2 dogs that have been seen around the world now. So these
yes, we do
guys
have to speed it up, as you guys know. They'll have to be pausing, and that's just how it works on YouTube.
DJ owns the storage facility here, and he is.
And you know what? Real quick before we go all the way in, big shout out to Nate. As you guys know, almost everything that we've done as far as coverage lately has been either Nate interviewing or from East Idaho News itself. So I just want to give a big shout out to Nate Eaton and East Idaho News. And this coverage of what they did is what we're going back through, and it's helping me learn a lot of what's happened in my family. So I just want to say that.
One who had the key piece of evidence in the last Lori Vallow Daybell trial, the video of Alex and Lori visiting with the tires and the car seats. And now you're breaking your silence, we could say, DJ.
At least publicly.
Publicly, right. Why don't we go back to 2019 October. Do you remember when Lori came in here?
Yes.
You do? What do you remember?
At the time, my office manager, Sandy, was working here, and Sandy has an infatuation with Hawaii. Always has. It's her favorite place in the world. So when Lori came in and she had a Hawaiian driver's license, that sparked a conversation, you know, just like any common connection or anything, and they talked about Hawaii.
I hope they really go through the dates of every single thing, because he just said October of 2019. So that's after everything, but before they left.
You know, they talked about Hawaii and islands and, you know, stuff for a minute that just made it a little more personal, which we do with a lot of our customers, you know. And so I remember that. And as the other caveat, as far as me remembering it, I was just the guy that was going very high maintenance. You know, to me, that's what's said in my mind, you know. With,
you could tell Lori
I was just like,
high maintenance.
Yeah, it's like.
Right off the bat, she's high maintenance. You know what? I don't know. Depends on how you define high maintenance. She's selfish, but high maintenance, it depends on how you define high maintenance.
I don't want to pay that monthly bill. You know what I mean? Just kind of a, I've never, but that's what stuck in my mind. Just, just weird thing, whether that, that's what stuck in my mind. But it was the Hawaii driver's license that sparked it, that turned it into a 15-minute interaction rather than a 5-minute interaction.
She was very talkative then.
Yes,
very willing to
nice,
talk.
and they talked about islands and which island they'd been on and there and stuff like that, which I was kind of just doing my own thing.
I don't even have a seat to sit in today. Let me see if I can make myself a little bigger. I feel a little tiny today. Let's try this. There we go. Now I feel like I'm not tiny in here.
So she signed the contract, Lori Ryan.
Yes.
Not Vallow.
And to us, it was always Lori. That was the only thing it was.
Which is so weird.
I do remember that she used her.
And you guys made a great point. Yeah, she probably became a Ryan on paper for the fact that she didn't want to be associated with the Vallow name. But then she was a Daybell, so it's just even weirder.
Sister as an alternate contact.
Okay.
Because we collect alternate contacts, kind of a thing, and but we didn't know who that was or any time. We just punch it in the computer. Just a daily task.
So this is October. When did you realize the woman on the news rented a storage unit from me? When did you put that together?
Probably, I had watched I'd started to see a little bit of the footage. Like the poster,
Of the
type,
missing kids. And then did you see the poster of Lori and Chad?
I may or may not have.
But that didn't click.
It didn't click. It didn't click until after I had been served a search warrant. Because in the search warrant, that's an interesting story as it is, but I'm trying to read it and speed. What is this? Because they're still your customers, so you sometimes it's like, well, what are they in trouble for? May determine on how much information I want to give.
So when the police come to you with a search warrant for one of your units, you were a little nervous.
I was outside. It was after hours or close to after hours, and we were just finishing up on the day because we were still under construction, and had guys working, and I was just.
You see, and that's the thing I've always tried to make a big point in this case. Just remember how many people have been pulled in here. So many people have been dragged into this, and it just blows my mind to see how many people have been pulled into Lori's and Chad and Alex's drama.
Kind of cleaning up, just checking to see at the end of the day when everybody pulled in, and I was told, that we have a search warrant, and at first I was like a little defensive because, I thought it was for me, and I didn't, maybe I always feel a little guilty about something, I don't know, but It was, to me, I was a little defensive as far as, okay, what's going on, and it was funny because I knew all the officers involved. I've dealt with them because I used to run a towing business, so we interacted quite a bit, and so like Chuck Considus, I remember him when he was a patrolman. I used to fix these seats because he was so big he would bust the car seats in all the cop cars, and all the other cops would just like, don't let Chuck drive my car, because he'd break the seat.
And remember, I always had to give people context because it was news to me when we went to Rexburg how tight knit it is and how small it truly is, and so people notice newer people that are around. Like, I think it's just because a lot of people grew up together and they know who you are from some association. So yeah, I just feel like it's noticeable, especially somebody who's got like a Hawaii license, but they just don't. Here comes this random woman who seems nice. You would never think twice about it.
Right.
But so I knew these people, and once they kind of seen that I was defensive, they were like, no, this is for a unit, not you, kind of a thing. And then, I read it, and I was a little like, okay, well, I don't want you breaking into my unit. I'll cut the lock off, and then what are we going to do as far as putting a lock on?
So the customer supplies their own lock.
Yeah, we sell a lock to you when you rent the unit.
So Lori would have had the key to the lock.
Lori would have had all the keys to the lock when she left here. Whatever she did with them is,
Right. So, but you, in order to get that open for the cops, you had to go cut it.
We cut it off, and I told the cops I wanted to do it because you have to be. You don't want to destroy. You don't want to scratch up your building and stuff. And they were all fine. They actually reimbursed me for that. They bought a new lock. At the end of the day, and they took those keys with them.
Did you happen to see the items in the unit at that time?
I unlocked it and I opened it up and I looked at it and it looked like a lot of other boxes and stuff. I remember seeing the bikes and boxes and stuff, but there was nothing nefarious looking, but sure. I didn't want to, it wasn't my place. So I'm like, here you go, and let me know when you're done.
This was November of 2019, so it hadn't hit the news yet. And you kind of knew before everybody else in a way, because we didn't find out about this till December.
Yeah, and it was after the search warrant that when I started, because in the search warrant, you got JV and, everything was
TR, Tyler
initials.
Ryan,
Right. So I didn't put it together until I talked to my brother, and he says, well, send me a copy of the search warrant. My brother's an attorney. And then as the news started coming, and then I realized,
Oh my gosh, dude.
this is that.
That's insane. And you're just supposed to be in a normal spot, you know what I mean?
So then you just was waiting to see how it unfolded because I didn't have any inside info. It's just, we have the unit here. And the police told me that, hey, we got everything. And I told them, they obviously says, hey, if anybody shows up, watch this unit,
Right.
type of a thing. And nothing ever happened. And it wasn't until later that when the credit card quit going through, and because at the time of the search warrant, they were a paying customer. Their card was on auto pay.
Why would they cut the card off? Like, you're literally just willing to let that go to auction? Or is it because he got searched?
And I think it paid for one more month,
And then
if I remember
declined.
right. And then it started coming back declined. And we'd reached out to there. It's like, okay, well, as long as we're getting paid, we don't care. But what do we do with the unit? Kind of a thing. And at one time, I was nervous about the search warrant because it had the unit number on it.
Mm-hmm.
And as the case developed, I was a little nervous. Once it wasn't getting paid for, we could have either auctioned the unit, which I did not want to do because that would have created more,
Right.
there. And I talked to them, and I asked them if I could move it. And they says yes. And that's when I moved it from a 10 by 10 unit to a smaller 5 by 5 unit because I didn't want that unit number, through the search warrant coming out and then people going
to that unit.
So we left it unlocked. So, I just felt better that, hey, this stuff is protected
in another unit.
in another unit that nobody knew about other than me. And I told the law enforcement what unit it was going to be in.
Right.
But I had, I walked out there, just moved it, wrote it down in the seat, kind of like this one, made it in a computer where it was like nobody could ever figure it out.
Well, why would they care, right? Like, why would they care about anything? That's why I'm confused about the storage unit in the first place. What was the reason you needed a storage unit at all?
Did you all try to get a hold of Lori to say your card's being declined?
We did, and we had no contact. I think her sister answered once,
All right.
if I remember, but I wasn't making those phone calls.
All right.
It was just, day-to-day business, hey, call the people and see. But at the time, we were waiting to see what was going to happen. But once that card got turned off for some reason or maxed out, it just died.
So you start to follow the story. It's February. I think I'd only been home from Hawaii 2 or 3 days when you reached out to us.
Yes, because I'd watched that footage, and that really kind of got me. It's like, because our cameras were brand new.
You had just gotten security cameras installed.
Yeah, if you went back from the first date that we seen Lori in the unit, and you go back like a week and a half, 2 weeks, our footage was the sky. Because, they install the camera and then they come back and adjust them all because they were that new.
So had Lori had they done this 2 or 3 weeks earlier, there would have been no footage.
There would have been no footage.
Wow.
And interesting, especially the footage that was played in court, you see dogs running around.
Yeah, the dogs are here.
You see my kid that's driving the four-wheeler.
That's insane. Just by that tiny little bit. What's up, big dog? I see you in here, Ray.
I'm actually, one of the interesting things is I'm walking through the parking lot as Lori's leaving. That happens all the day. You don't, it doesn't, you don't think that, hey, I have a serial killer here. Right. I have, there's the most.
It's as blunt as it can be. That's what she is.
Nefarious thing going on.
Right.
You just go on with your daily business because you have a list of things that needs to be done.
Right. I remember you reached out. I said, I'll be there in the morning. We came up and you had this list that Carly's holding that you had gone
Yes.
through. So what is this list? I saw the picture of it on my phone.
It's very illegible,
but it makes sense.
So once I talked to you, because I was trying to, at first I always had the video on 10-1 because that's easy. You look at the lease, you see what time, you go to the camera at that time. That was easy footage to find. And there was nothing there, so we didn't know. With the amount of stuff that was in the unit, we thought, well, maybe she put it all in once and never come back to the unit. We don't have anything, at the time we didn't have anything that logs customers in or out. But after I talked to you, I'd started doing some searching and seeing some things because I'd called our camera people and they'd come up and show me how to do a line detection search where I can draw a line on the screen and then the computer will search for everything that crossed that line over a period of time. And once I knew that there was a little more interest, you were I'll be there in the morning, and you could tell by the sound of your voice, you were like, hey, this is,
Right.
this is like the guy that caught Watergate or something. I don't know.
I know, that was a big scoop.
But to me, it gave me the little bit of ambition to take the rest of my day and all through the night,
Wow.
going through these searches and finding, and like, there they are. And all I did was do the start and the finish, because this list isn't very inclusive. There was a lot more work than that, but it's like, this is when they entered the property and when they left. And we didn't still have all the videos that, going from camera to camera. I was just looking for when they,
So let me just go ahead into context. So this is what somebody, yeah, boy, go get you a drink by the pool. Hey, Ray, drinks by the pool. Everybody drinks by the pool. All right. Now, this is what a man who's never met the kids or anybody, met Lori for just 2 seconds, was so invested on helping that he went and spent his time scrubbing through footage so he could see what was going on the video camera. When people who were involved, who knew exactly what we're doing, weren't trying to do anything. Do you see the difference? He cared so much, he sat there looking at timestamps so he could help and get this out and try to help in any way, shape, or form. Just tells you a lot.
when I seen them in the unit, and then back up to see when they entered the property and then when they left the property. And that's what this list was. And then later on, we went through and had to follow every little camera because everything is a segment.
Right.
And
this is so helpful, though. So October 1, Lori's by herself in her car. She's here for about 9 minutes. October 2, she comes with a man in a car here for like 4 minutes. So DJ went through and listed all of the visits, including one visit on the day of Tammy Daybell's funeral from a man who was Alex, most likely. And then 2 men back on the 28th of October, when they dropped off the bike. 2 men meaning Alex and Chad.
And that was an interesting one because that's the first time I realized that these guys were, you know, I wasn't going over this video. I was just writing it down. That when there was 2 guys, I was like, oh, so these aren't the same
same
guys.
guy coming
That's
with
why
him.
everything says male, because I wasn't like, you know, short, fat guy, tall, skinny guy, you know.
Right.
I wasn't, you know, I wasn't looking for that. And when I seen the 2 males, that's the first time it's like, okay, now I have 3 people because I just wasn't analyzing.
Sure.
Yeah. Peter Griffin shows up with the balding idiot.
Last time they came, Lori with Chad, the 24th of November for about 4 minutes in the afternoon, and then 3 days later the cops come.
Yep.
And then they search it with a search warrant. So this was a critical piece of information. So Carly, let me bring you into the conversation. You've been here 4 years now, and what do you have people coming here saying? Is this the storage unit that Lori Gallo had?
I think we're still known around Rexburg to be that storage unit.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people that know that it's us, and I mean, people still talk about her quite a bit. So.
Yeah. What do the customers ask about?
They do ask like what was in the unit and stuff like that, but they more so how was she or did
And that's
she
the
see?
thing you guys need to understand too. Let's go back to some context. Rexburg, again, being a small place, this is like not a stamp, but it's like a stain. Let's call it a stain because it's not a stamp, but it's like a stain to the city. So, you know, Chad's house, his property, her townhomes, like where she was staying, the courthouse, like it just is all over the place. And so, you know, I remember when I would go visit over to the property just to kind of be there people would drive by and I'd see them pointing and talking. And it just kind of put into context for me, like what that would be like on the outside, you know, but it's just so horrible because that place is so calm and so quiet, and it's not representative of what Rexburg is, but it did stain it. You know what I mean?
Like, did you kind of think she was a little off or anything like that, really?
You mentioned the stuff in the unit. What happened with that stuff, DJ?
Okay, originally I had moved it, and then and law enforcement at the time had basically released it to us, like, you do your thing, and I'm like, I'm just going to put everything on hold because I'm not going to sell it.
But normally, if someone abandoned their property, you legally can sell it.
We could
after
have
a
listed
certain
in the
amount of days.
paper, and you know, and we could auction it off,
Yeah.
which we hate to do for anybody.
Right.
I mean, auctioning is our, you know, we try to, you know, we'll Facebook stalk you and track you down before we sell your stuff.
Yeah.
But we moved it, and then we'd been in contact with you and everything, and I was kind of worried, like I want an inventory and everything. So I think the next time that we'd done anything was with you, and when Dateline was here.
Yeah.
And I told Dateline, I said, you guys are inventorying this with us, you know, kind of a thing, because now I have you know, there won't be any, you know, I wanted to protect us as a bit, make sure we have everything is listed for an inventory thing.
Right, and we got it all on video.
Yeah, right. And then they give me a copy because it was, two-sided. You guys are doing your
Where's that video? Is there a video of the storage unit? I don't know if I've ever seen it, ever.
story, and then I'm like, hey, I didn't go through this stuff myself. It was interesting when I did move it. It was all me alone in that hallway. And the kids, when I did that, the kids were not found, kind of a thing. So he was hoping, they were at a ranch somewhere or, something like that. But I still, looking back, it was kind of a dark, you just had that sixth sense or whatever that this is not right,
Yeah. I remember it felt eerie.
Yes, and that's the correct word. Now remind you,
that's the thing. Like, you could just, anything to do with Lori and Chad, you could feel the darkness. And I hate to use that word, but it's just true. I just felt like every video you saw of them, everything they did, their house, like everything you were just near their property, just dark, just felt wrong.
Kid that is just a few months younger than JJ, who went to Kennedy. Now, I've asked him, did you ever meet him? And JJ wasn't there very long, and no.
Right.
But if JJ would have continued to go there, they very well could have been friends.
Right.
So when you have a child that's the same age as a child missing, that hits. It hits a little harder. And when you're moving, the grandparent's scooter that they give JJ, and when you're moving that, and you realize your kid's favorite thing in the world is his Strider, and if you left it somewhere, you had to turn the car around and go get it,
Right.
Kind of a thing, and you realize this is just in a storage unit.
And Larry came out later and said JJ loved that scooter.
Exactly, and that's
Love
where I
that
was,
scooter. Yeah.
that's where I put the two with Cooper is like, kid's upset that he doesn't have his scooter, kind of a thing. But it was just an eerie feeling moving that stuff.
Especially because it's the stuff you would take if your house was burning down. All the photo albums, the baby books,
Yes.
the blankets with all the photos.
Personalized
You want to save
blankets,
those
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my photo blanket, and I don't even know why Lori has it. I genuinely don't know why she has that photo blanket.
So after we put up the story, what was the reaction like on your end?
I think you warned me. It's like everybody's going to be calling you, and I'm like, whatever, kind of a thing. But we had law enforcement here because obviously they wanted to get the footage and everything, and I'm trying to talk to them. And my office manager got the phone, and then she's just like, because she hated the case. She did not want, it was just too, she's a mother of 5 kids.
Yeah.
It's just, this is tearing her apart.
Right.
And she actually brings me the phone because she doesn't want to answer it anymore. Because at first it started out, the first people that called us was the Standard Journal.
Right.
And then just seconds after that, it was Post Register.
The local media.
And then within like 5 minutes or so, it was Salt Lake and Boise. And within a half an hour, I had CNN and Fox. And, it was like, holy cow. And you couldn't get anything done other than answer the phone.
Right.
And that because, still answering the phone and trying to carry on conversations. And it was just like, holy cow. I had no idea how fast something could blow up. And it was really an eye-opener as far as, how fast the word gets around. When something goes off. And I was just thinking, Nate, you warned me, but you could have warned me.
Well, not only that, your name got out there.
It did.
And you have a different name now.
We do.
So tell me about that. What happened?
Well, it was all great. I tried to, we put the business in there, and I think I asked you to do a hyperlink, because we were brand new
Link to your-
business.
yeah,
and we were
yeah.
struggling, trying to get, going. And during this whole case, I can't remember the exact timeline, but all of a sudden we get a certified letter in the mail, and it's a cease and desist order with the threat of a lawsuit in federal court about a trademark infringement on our name.
Oh.
And that started a very costly, process, yes. And
I'm confused with that. Their name was already used or something?
that in which we ended up having to hire, my brother's an attorney, and I call him and he's like, man, 2 things that are weird that nobody talks about, and that's maritime law and trademark law. You either do it or you don't, because any attorney, and he's like, I'm not, but I'll find one. And he found us a trademark attorney out of Salt Lake, and retainers and expenses, and, we're like putting retainers on credit cards because it was just not a good time for us because we were in the middle of construction and would put
And you're brand new.
everything in, and our business wasn't that old, but we're still trying to expand, and we didn't see this coming. Usually when I'm in trouble, I'm like, I can see it coming, but this was just smack right in the face. And it's been a long time, and it cost us, I think it was around about $25,000 when we were all done with.
Oh, man.
And what they never come out and said, oh, this is because you're on the news, but our SEO, which you know all about, I mean, that's the goal, went through the roof because we went from having, 50 clicks a month on our website to thousands and thousands. And I still think to this date, somebody was sitting in their office looking at their stuff and wondering, why is this guy ahead of us when we weren't even that close? And then
This is another company in another state, right?
same state,
Okay.
but they have places in several several
localities.
states, a lot bigger than us.
Yeah.
Interesting, our trademark says, well, we do a background check first, so give me $600 and we'll find out who we're fighting. And when it came back and it's like, oh, you've got way more money than we do. I've never been back down from a fight, but I'm like,
That's
yeah.
crazy though, because like this, that would have never happened had this not gone so public, right? So I don't know anything about that situation, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Thank you, Tanya, for your chat. You're amazing. You're amazing. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is that's crazy though for them. I mean, remember the reality of this situation being them having to go into a legal battle because their storage unit blew up because Lori Vallow put her stuff in it.
Going to get my butt kicked. So we went back and forth and negotiated. It never did end up in court, but we knew we had to do it there, and we came with our new name.
How'd you come up with it?
Lots of
Do you remember
hours.
Carly? Yeah, you guys kind of brainstormed?
He took days to figure it out.
We had lists of names, and do you like this? And it was funny because I have a small heater, and I can't remember what it said, but it's something. It was like, "We are heat," and it plays off the R,
Right.
just like Toys R Us. Please don't sue. Well, yeah, they're bankrupt, so I don't have to worry about that.
Well, you could
But,
say the R means Rexburg.
Rexburg,
Yeah.
or it just, it's just good. But we come up with it. Obviously, it looks better in a logo.
Yeah.
And we've liked the change, but it would have been nice to do it on our own doing.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, it happened. But I still contribute that to this case because I don't think we would have ever been.
No one would have ever known.
Would have ever been big enough, and it would just been under the radar. And we never did it nefarious. I learned a lot about trademark, stuff and service marks and stuff that was like.
Right.
And I'm not really happy I learned all that, but
Now you have knowledge.
Yeah.
What did you think the day the kids were found? Do you remember that day?
I was sad. That you just had a lump in your heart, and you just was like, you just lost hope. You know what I mean? It was over. And that's what really, when I started to disconnect from the case, because, it was just that sad.
Right.
It was, and our footage never really played a huge part. I mean, I got subpoenaed for Boise, for the trial in Boise and everything. It'd get stipulated. I signed tons of affidavits, worked with law enforcement any way we could, but I never felt like we had the big piece of the pie. We just had stuff that looked weird. But locally, for our customers, we got a lot of feedback because I have people that I know that are in Chad and Tammy's ward, and there were still people that were defending Chad. And I think when the hand smack, on her behind, people have told me that made a difference.
Exactly. Yeah, they just didn't know.
That's when they quit like, oh, this is blown out of proportion. That's when they're like, yeah, that's
Right. That's
that
caught on
changed
camera.
a lot of people's, just like, okay, something's not right.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was like we have weird stuff. It's weird things going on, that don't make sense. Not all our customers do this, but it never got put together until, never played a huge part until this last trial.
Yeah, I wondered if you were going to show up in Arizona to testify.
I think that I had signed affidavits for there. We'd had phone calls. Most everything I did was through the Rexburg Police Department.
Yeah.
And I think by this time, the Rexburg Police Department had this sealed down and was working with everybody.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was talking about Hawaii, my only interaction, we didn't, it was our video cameras that were playing the part, because we never had an interaction with anybody that was, business or anything, from the day she signed her lease.
You said you kind of disconnected from the case. Did you end up following the trials at all?
Well, I was under, once I got subpoenaed,
Oh, you couldn't.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so I was really trying to keep that, but it was really hard when people kept calling me and say, hey, your storage units are on the news and everything, because as a business owner, and this is something that has changed me, and I still follow, East Idaho News is where I go for my news, kind of a thing. I don't always read the CNN articles, but,
We hear that a lot.
But when people are calling you, you always worry about your business. It's like, hey, we don't want to be the bad guy. We don't want to think we did something wrong. We don't want, any of that. And so I disconnected, and I didn't want to be the witness that gets up there, and if they ask you things and you ruin something, So I really did try, and it just, when I was
It's so nice, man. It just sucks. Like, there's nice people. Like, it's always unfortunate to get so many sweet people dragged into a situation when you're so unassuming that this is, you know, it's the ultimate wolves in sheep's clothing, because they're so unassumingly non-dangerous looking people. They're like, Lori can come off nice. I mean, Chad just looks so meek. Whatever. No, he's just not a intimidating presence. Let's just put it that way. But the only person that throw you off is Alex, because Alex is just fucking creepy, and I'm just being 1,000.
Scheduled to go for the trial in Boise. I was actually in Vegas because I told him, I says, I'm going to a trade show for the storage units and I won't be back till this day. But I was packing bags on a Sunday when Ron Ball and the prosecutor called and asked me a few more questions, and then said, hey, you don't have to, we got this stipulated, kind of a thing. Yeah. So, and I was happy. Wow. I was happy, kind of a thing. So,
well, it's a good thing that you had your cameras going. It's a good thing that you had those key pivotal moments.
Oh, and we have learned about cameras, because at the time I think we had 16 or 17. I now have 92.
Wow.
And not only that, I am currently running 145 terabytes of video and audio storage. We have a camera that will read your license plate number.
Wow.
So to me, I have realized, have we caught any serial killers since? No. But,
hopefully you never do again.
I can find out who moved that mattress, who left the mattress, who,
And you have audio, you have mics.
On some, yes. And in key places. And we use our cameras, and she can attest to that. We're always like, I need you to check the cameras. Whether it's who left the box.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Without seeing them together, without seeing Lori and Chad together, and without seeing the evidence of them taking the tire in there and the back seat, that stuff was really, really important to have. So he did a really good job pulling that footage.
Junk, or who did this, or who maybe hit our building. Yeah, and we see some interesting things.
I bet.
On our cameras and that. But plus we monitor them. When I'm in my apartment, I've got two 86-inch TVs. One of them is always on the cameras. The other one can be cameras. But if I'm watching Netflix, I'm watching 86 cameras. Yeah. I'm old. When I get up in the morning at 3 o'clock to walk to the other side of the apartment, my cameras are still on, and you just look and see.
There's something about surveillance cameras. I don't know what it is. It just makes it fascinating to watch.
But at the same point, we have people that ask us about there, but we also have people that know we have very good cameras. Yeah. And that helps and lets them know that it's there. But if you're a crook, if you're doing something, you don't want to be here.
Right. Well, if I'm going to store property, I want them in a place that's secure and has that stuff. Well, thanks for calling me with that scoop 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was interesting. Never thought it would have done to this. And now we're just opening our third facility. We're continuing to grow.
Oh, that's great.
We're still just a family-run business, and we try to have those personal ties to our customers. And Lori,
he slaps the paper every time, and it's driving me nuts. Yeah, he slaps the paper a lot.
And
you shouldn't have when you're a hand mover, you should not have something to bang or touch.
Will always be kind of but at the same time, I'm glad they stored here, because we wouldn't have had this. We wouldn't have, good chance this wouldn't have,
right.
I know.
It's a good thing you're a vigilant business owner too, though.
Well,
keeping track of it.
We just try.
Yeah.
And it likes to know that we have something from our efforts actually helped. Kay had a very interesting slogan and a t-shirt she was wearing. And we feel that same sentiment here. We just, the last day of the trial.
Yeah.
And we share that same sentiment as Kay does. And we wish the families and everybody, that it's there. But I also, when I'm watching the news and see another business that has something happen that had nothing to do with them, it's interesting. Now I kind of like, oh man, those guys that's a rough day at the office, because they've had this thrown on their plate.
Didn't ask for it, it just came.
Kind of a thing. But I hope there's a special place in hell reserved for certain people.
Yeah. I don't know if we got around to answering where the stuff ended up. Oh, you said you moved it.
Okay, then the law enforcement came back, and they served another search warrant, which we knew about it, because they asked me, and I says, well, I talked to my brother, and I says, you guys need to, because they're like, do you want to just give it to us? And I'm like, well, we want it all to be a trail, so they served us with another search warrant, and then they took everything, and then we were sure, we speaking with law enforcement and that, I says, when this is done, you guys are the caretaker, disseminate, send it
to the loved
ones. And I don't even know who got what or how that worked, but I'm like, once, and they may still have it because of appeal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But our thing was give it to the family. Send it to whoever thinks, whoever's, this means something to.
Yeah, good.
Kind of a thing. And because, you always said, hey, do you want it there? Anybody was here, I was like, don't mention my name. I don't want, I'll kick you off the property if you take a picture of me. I don't want to be, we just want to be in the back. But.
Right. Carly, is there anything you want to add?
It still lives. That's it, really. The little comments about them and what happened to everything. And
Right.
Yeah. That's unfortunate because it's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with these businesses. It has nothing to do with anybody. So it's just unfortunate to be dragged into it. But yeah, I like this guy. I like his attitude. He's very kind. He provided a lot of key things, and you can tell he just did everything the right way. So I think he just deserves, to just be recognized for that. And you can tell he's just genuine, you know?
still get comments that kind of throw you off for a second because it's
Right.
And now our dogs vet all our customers.
Yes, well, your dogs were famous thanks to the trial.
Yep.
Anything you want to add, DJ?
No, it was just kind of interesting when I watched the footage from the trial, and when I watched the live comments, and then when they all shipped to Cato, I was like, oh my gosh, still the spotlight.
Anytime you have a dog on screen.
Kind of a thing. But there were some comments, or these dogs are living their happiest lives. They are, they don't know what a leash is.
They're very friendly. They were very friendly 5 years ago when I came, and they're still here. I'm glad they're healthy. Can we go check out the unit? Okay, so this was the building where Lori rented the unit.
Yes.
It was one of these bigger garages?
Yes, it was a 10 by 10 size unit that she originally rented, which was our biggest in our hallway.
And we saw Lori and Chad and Alex coming and going out this
Yes,
door.
outside this door is the only place they ever entered.
And when the police came, you helped cut off the lock.
Yes, we cut off the lock. There, maybe if I scratched, I don't. Sometimes I scratch it, but I must have been good. Sometimes
good,
I scratch
yeah.
the unit, when I have to cut off the lock. But
And then they just closed it up and left everything in
Yep.
here. And then when we came, you had moved it to a smaller
yes, I
spot.
moved it to a 5 by 5, which is our smallest unit.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And at first we thought, they never.
I was just wondering what was the plan of the bigger one, because they just said they moved it to a 5x5. You guys all who know about storage units, if you can fit it into a smaller unit, you would want to fit it in a smaller unit because you'd want to only pay monthly for what your stuff fits in. And so that just shows you that they had bigger plans of putting bigger things in there, in my opinion.
Moving in, because why would you have that big of a unit for that small of stuff? But then it was same thing, all the stuff that was going on, and then I think their plans changed at the last minute, and they wanted to get out of town.
It still feels a little creepy to be here. I don't lie.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were walking in and out of that door?
Well, we have people say, this isn't the hallway, this isn't the unit, right, kind of a thing, and we have to affirm them that there was nothing ever,
That's crazy, bro.
nobody was ever in here, but we still have the people, and we did have one person that, when stuff came out on the news or something, we actually had to move them from one building to another, because
They
they
requested
just, I have to, kind of a thing, but everybody deals with stuff on their own way.
Yeah.
We're kind of past that now. I've got, how many hallways do we have? I don't know, 18 of these hallways, and they all, without the numbers, they all look alike, kind of a thing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just one of those things that happened, and I'm glad that it's no longer a mystery.
Yeah.
Before we get off here, let's look up Rexburg. Let's try this. Rexburg storage. I don't know how to look this up because it's not really like a one thing. Rexburg storage unit. Let's try this. Lori Vallow. I don't know. I don't really know how to research stuff like this. Oh, here you go. Here you go. Here's all the stuff in it.
Lori Vallow Day.
Okay, so here's Nate again. See, I told you, it's always Nate. All right, here we go. Intro, I guess
Bell first came here to Self Storage Plus in Rexburg to rent a storage unit. This is the unit that she put her items in. It's a 10 by 10, and over the next few weeks after October 1st, she came here a few different times. Surveillance footage from the company shows Lori or a man associated with her visited her unit 9 times in October and 1 time in November. She came alone once on October 1st, the day she signed the contract and agreed to pay $53 a month. She was driving a blue Nissan Rogue. Lori returned October 2nd and 3rd with a man who appears to be her brother, Alex Cox. His truck is spotted on camera.
That dude had hair. That's Chad.
Brother Alex.
I feel like that dude has hair, but maybe I'm wrong.
Cox. His truck is spotted on camera several times during the month. During one visit, the two of them enter the building. The man looks back and forth as Lori opens the unit door. He then removes a heavy tote with something hanging over the end. It's placed in the car. They go back inside the building, and he carries out a tire while she closes the door. Between October 6th and 26th, a man, presumably Cox,
Just a bitch, bro. All you did is just listen to them and let them just tell you what to do, and you just did it. That what was the win for you? You just did anything Lori said?
visits the storage unit alone 5 times. Cameras show him dropping off a variety of items, including gun cases. And then on October 28th, 2 men are seen moving bikes into the unit. During October, the visitors are seen with large, heavy totes. Sometimes they put things in the unit, then remove them within days. The last time anyone visits...
What were they moving, bro? What were they moving in and out?
The facility in October is on the 28th. Nobody comes back for nearly a month. But on November 24th, Lori and a man are again seen on camera. They stay for 4 minutes and leave. 2 days later, Rexburg police go to her townhouse for a welfare check on JJ. The next day, November 27th, officers serve a search warrant at the home.
You can just feel it. I'm telling you, you can feel it. I remember driving by this, and you can feel this. I don't know how to explain it other than that. You just feel how evil it is.
And then go to the storage unit with a search warrant. Inside, they find bikes, a scooter, winter clothing, a photo album with pictures of the children.
Oh, that's JJ.
Sports equipment, a backpack with JJ's initials, a jersey with Colby's name, Lori's oldest son, along with ice skates and blankets, one showing photos of JJ, the other with pictures of Tylee. Detectives photographed everything, and in January, when Lori's credit...
That's all that was in there at all? What the hell? That must be her. So Lori was obsessed with beach cruisers. JJ wouldn't have used this. He would have used this, and we've had that forever. I didn't even know they kept that. I don't know if that's supposed to be JJ's bike. I don't think I've ever seen that bike. There's nothing in it. So this box must have had those memories, that's just a weird thing.
Card was declined several times. Self-Storage Plus notified the police. Workers say officers have not
Yeah, that's all that's left. So you know. That's it.
returned since the end of November.
Workers have reached out to Daybell multiple times, but they have been unsuccessful in reaching her, and she has not contacted them. Now, here at Self Storage Plus, they realized the other day that Lori may have been using their facility. They called their security system Elite Surveillance. They came up and helped them pull the footage, and now they are waiting to see what's next.
Let's see if there's anything else. I've seen all this. Huh. Well, frick dis. Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff yet. I just don't, and that's something that I'm I don't know. I think I'm patient with everything, the best you can be. I don't try to rush a process, and you know, it's a sensitive thing, so I don't know, take my time with it. I know you guys were wanting to go through that. I'm glad we watched that. That's good. It's good to know how much people care. I say this all the time, and it's a weird thing to say, but it's just the truth, is if this would have happened anywhere else, I think things wouldn't be the same. And I think it's just because Rexburg as a whole is a very just wholesome place, and people are, for the majority, so nice. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know if you would have had this happen in any other bigger city or place. You might not have gotten the same kind of attention from people and the love. And I remember running. We visited for something, and I went for a run, and I ran literally the entirety of Rexburg. And while I'm running, I'm seeing ribbons. This is like later 2020, maybe 21, possibly 21. And I'm talking like I'm running past the courthouse. At that time, Lori was in jail in the middle of town in the courthouse. Let me see if I can pull up Rexburg map. See if I can pull up a map. Google Earth, show you guys. I feel like this is just turning into the new thing. Rexburg ID. We're going away from Hawaii to Rexburg. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Just give you guys really, really good context. I don't know if you like this kind of thing, but I think it's really helpful. Okay, so let me go. So here's the temple. So this is the top of the hill. This is a big hill that goes down. Like I said, it's not a big place. Let me see if I can find the middle of it. BYU's right here, which means it's right over in this area. I gotta go 2D because it's flat. It's freaking flat, and it's giving me a headache. So there's a temple. So that's the top of the. There's like it's very hilly there, but it's very beautiful. Up here is the very top of this hill. It goes gradually down to this hill, and then I'm trying to just. Is it not labeled? It's probably not labeled. But this is Rexburg right here. Let me just zoom out a little bit. This is it. This is the whole freaking thing. Everything else outside of that is not Rexburg. So you can see it's not a big spot. I was running all the way through this right here and more around BYU in this area. And the courthouse is somewhere down up in this middle area, closer to this. I'm weird. I always remember where something is based off of it being near like a... There's Porter Park. That's a really nice park too. It's somewhere in this vicinity, okay? And I ran past, I knew Lori was in there at that time. And then outside of that, I'm running by and there's ribbons on every stop sign, right? Every pole, there's like memorial ribbons for Tylee and JJ. And like, you can just feel this impact that like, I don't know how else to explain it other than just the fact that it was living in the city. They knew about my family. They had put up memorial things for my siblings and they don't even know you're there. It's just kind of like, it's just very surreal, but it just showed me like that wasn't for anybody else. Like that stuff was still up. And I'm running and I'm seeing it everywhere, you know, just little ribbons tied off or little things around Rexburg that are about Tylee and JJ. And so just, yeah, it's just crazy. But Rexburg is very small. I wish I was better at directions because I can't show you where the courthouse is based off of this, but it's very, very small. But I do know if I can find the Walmart, I can show you. If I can find the Walmart, I can explain to you where near Chad's house. I don't want to show it to you at all, but it's somewhere on the right of the outside. So anyway, Chad's house is right outside of here. So it's somewhere either this way, whatever. But I remember the first time I ever drove down there's a long road on when you're going to Chad's house, and I felt the whole time I was going down, I just felt something about that made me really, really uncomfortable. I don't know how to explain that. And that's, I think, what Nate's trying to express about the unit or just being somewhere where they were. There's something very uncomfortable and very, very just eerie and just, oh, you just feel it. I don't know how else to explain that. So anyway, thank you guys for being here today. I do love you and appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow. We are getting very close to the end of Chad's trial. Thank you, mods, and thank you. I just want to thank all of our members, man. Thank you to all of our warriors, our chiefs, and our mother frickin' ones. Kelsey and I are working on some new merch for you guys, so that's going to be fun. We got a lot of new funny stuff from our community, so we can't wait to share that with you guys. It is also almost Kelsey's birthday in 2 days, so I'll let you guys know what the plan is, but we're going to try to make Kelsey's birthday about her birthday, so we probably won't stream, and I just want her to feel the love and yeah, just want you guys to kind of know what's going on this week. So we'll get through it. I'll have a video up for you guys tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. But I do appreciate you, love you. Thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you very soon.